Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to talk about ethmoid bone, and here at the side you can see the diagrammatic representation of ethmoid bone and its different parts for the reference. So let's start the video with introduction. Ethmoid bone is a lightweight, spongy bone located at the roof of nasal cavity between the two orbits and forms part of anterior canal base, nasal septum and medial wall of the orbit. It is one of the most intricate bones in the skull and play a central role in both sport and function. Talking about its anatomical component, it has cribriform plate or cribriform plate, whatever accent you prefer. The second is crista galli. The third part is perpendicular plate, and fourth part is ethmoidal labyrinth that are also called as lateral masses. And next is superior and middle nasal conchae that are also part of ethmoid bone. So these five are the parts of ethmoid bone as you can see here in the diagram. So let's talk about them one by one. The first is cribriform plate. As you can see here in the diagram, it is a horizontal perforated plate that forms part of the anterior cranial fossa. It allows passage of olfactory nerve fibers that form the nasal cavity to the brain. They border the crista galli, that is a vertical projection. Next part of ethmoid bone is crista galli, that we said is articular projection. It is a sharp midline vertical projection rising from the cribriform plate, as you can see here in the diagram. It serves as an attachment point for phallic cerebri, that is a dural membrane that separates the brain's two hemispheres. The next part is perpendicular plate. As you can see here in the diagram, it is a vertical structure descending from the cribriform plate into the nasal cavity. It contributes to the formation of nasal septum alongside the vomer and nasal cartilage. Next anatomical part of ethmoid bone is ethmoidal labyrinth, that is also called as lateral masses or ethmoidal sinus area. As you can see here in the diagram, it is paired spongy structure on either side of perpendicular plate. It contains multiple ethmoid air cells that are also called as ethmoidal air sinuses that divide it into anterior ethmoidal air sinuses, middle ethmoidal air sinuses, and posterior ethmoidal air sinuses. Medially, they form part of nasal wall, and laterally, they help shape the medial wall of the orbits. Further talking about its component, it has superior and middle nasal conchae that are also the part of ethmoid bone. They are basically curved projections that extend from the labyrinth into the nasal cavity. They increase surface area to warm, filter, and humidify inhaled air. Now let's talk about articulations of ethmoid bone. Ethmoid bone touches 13 other bones or it articulates with 13 other bones that include cranial bones that are frontal bone and sphenoid bone. And from the facial bone, it articulates with the nasal bone, maxilla, lacrimal bone, inferior nasal conchae, palatine bone, and vomer bone. And its central position makes it a keystone of nasal and orbital architecture. Now let's talk about functions of ethmoid bone. The first function is it supports smell by housing olfactory receptors. Second function is it shapes the nasal cavity and contributes to airflow and filtration. Third function is it forms part of the orbit, aiding in vision and protection. The fourth function is it supports brain structures as it anchors the phallic cerebri. Now let's talk about clinical significance of ethmoid bone. The first is ethmoidal sinusitis that can cause deep set nasal pressure, headaches, or even orbital complications. Second significance is cribriform plate fracture, as it may lead to cerebrospinal fluid leakage and pose a risk of meningitis. Third is as it is thin medial orbital wall make it vulnerable in orbital blowout fracture. Now let's talk about conclusion of this lecture video. Though modest in size, the ethmoid bone is vital in many ways, supporting brain tissue, enabling our sense of smell, forming part of the eye socket, and anchoring delicate facial structures. Like a quiet backstage crew member, it is essential to hold show running smoothly. Thank you for watching. This was all about ethmoid bone. Hopefully you liked the video. If you do, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment. Thank you for watching.